everybody. My name is Jesse, and I'm your virtual adventure guide here with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. If you're joining us for the first time, we're all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world through over 40 live, free, monthly interactive broadcasts. Now, last year, we had the chance to partner with the amazing team at the Rideau Hall Foundation, and what they came up with was the Ingenious Plus campaign. This fantastic awards campaign allowed innovators all over Canada to submit their ideas, innovations for making Canada a better, smarter, kinder, fantastic place. And so today we are diving back in with their campaign, a new year, a new launch starting today with our launch event. So before we dive in, I'm going to play a quick little video to highlight a little bit more about the campaign, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jill at the Rideau Hall Foundation to explain more before we dive in with our fantastic past winners and innovators for today. So without further ado, let's cue up that video, everybody, and dive in.
Thank you so much. What a great video. I am Jill Clark. I am with the Rideau Hall Foundation, and I am so excited to launch today our second year of Ingenious Plus, Canada's Youth Innovation Challenge. So we are here today because we want to talk to those of you who are passionate about generating solutions to community, Canadian, and global challenges, because Ingenious Plus gives youth in Canada aged 14 to 16 the opportunity to innovate for good. Now, we hear this word tossed around a lot, innovation. So what does it really mean? Innovation to us is just about doing something better to make an impact. And this includes improving on a product, service, or process, or creating something completely new that solves a problem to make the world a better place. Now, this year, we have 5 categories that you can tackle to make the world better through innovation. We have community and civic engagement, climate change and the environment, very important, equity and inclusion, health and well-being, technology, and entrepreneurship, which I have a feeling we're going to hear a little bit more about today. So this invites you to present your innovation ideas. This is your chance to showcase your innovation in an exceptional network of Canada's most successful innovators. You'll have the chance to win entry into this network and also a chance to receive up to $10,000. Now, today we're going to be hearing from our very first cohort of Ingenious Plus recipients, so tune in and get inspired. All of the information that you need to apply and receive up to $10,000 is on our website at ingeniusplus.ca, so check us out. And the next great Canadian innovator could be you. Now, very special guests that we have with us today are recipients from last year. We have our first place national recipient, Nyla Malo, whose innovation, transparent and flexible solar cells, earned her first place in the challenge last year. So we're going to welcome Nyla to the stream today. Hey, Nyla, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Great. We're so happy to have you with us here today. And for those who may have missed the wonderful ceremony that we had last year to award you first prize in Ingenious Plus, tell us a little bit about your innovation.
Yeah, so I'm currently working on transparent and flexible solar cells, and that's what I submitted to Ingenious. So about 2 years ago, I started noticing this issue of solar panel accessibility. So when I was, driving to school or to the mall or wherever, I noticed that there were a lot more solar panels being put up, which was exciting. But I also knew that climate change wasn't really slowing down. I was still obviously hearing a lot about it. And so when I looked into the statistics a little bit, I saw that solar energy still makes up a really, really small percentage of our global energy generation. And when I started looking into why, that's when I noticed that solar panels are mainly being placed on roofs. They're clunky, and while they're, amazing innovations, there's still room for improvement and room for an increase in accessibility with regards to where they can be placed. So instead of creating a more efficient solar panel, which a lot of incredible researchers are working on right now, I wanted to look at taking a slightly different approach to solar panels, creating something transparent and flexible that could be placed on various surfaces. So, ideally something that you could place on your window or your car, or if you're outside, maybe your phone. And this was something that I hadn't really seen before. And I started looking into solar energy's intersection with nanomaterials, working with materials on a really, really small scale, like this material called perovskites and silver nanowires. And Ingenious really helped me to get my project off the ground. So I am really honored to be able to speak to you today. And I'm still really honored about, getting this prize a few months ago. I don't think it was too long ago, maybe May or June, but it definitely has been super impactful for me. It helped me to get my project off the ground and buy a lot of the materials that I hadn't previously been able to purchase. So over the past summer, I worked at the Toronto Metropolitan University in their Solar Innovation Lab, and I got to buy a bunch of materials that I needed, which I used my Ingenious prize for, and I got to build out my core electrodes for the actual solar cells. And then in December, I'm going to be working in Toronto again. I'm based in Ottawa, so I can't really do it over the school year, but over my Christmas break, I'll be working on building out the flexibility side of things and working with different substrates. And so right now I'm looking into ordering some materials for that, which again, I'm drawing from my Ingenious fund. So it's just been so valuable in helping me to actually build out my idea. I think when I pitched this idea to Ingenious and when I submitted my application, it was just an idea. And I think that's all you need is an idea, something that you're passionate about, something that, was rooted in your curiosity. And once you have that idea and, you submit it to Ingenious, I think getting the really incredible prizes that really helped me to actually go from an idea to building out actual parts of your product, which is really exciting. So I am super grateful for the opportunity that I got from Ingenious.
Wow, Nyla, you are like our best spokesperson ever. This is so great. It's so wonderful to hear about how positive your experience has been and really how, this incredible innovation has been able to go through all of these different phases and iterations. So you mentioned going back to Toronto once you finish up school and, how important it is to be balancing school on top of being one of Canada's next great innovators, or current great innovators, I should say. So what do you see as what comes next? What are some of the next big milestones that you're looking forward to?
So for my solar cell, I think actually getting to a fully functioning prototype over the summer, it was a few months, so it was a good amount of time to work on building out some of the core technology, but you definitely need a little more than that to build like a fully functioning solar cell, especially balancing the transparency with the efficiency is really difficult because the solar cells that I created over the summer were like very inefficient. So I have to work separately, I think, on the different layers, like optimizing the electrodes and then going and optimizing the absorber layer, which in this case is a material called perovskite. So creating something that's still semi-transparent, but it's going to give you efficiency because you don't want something that's like 0.1% efficient. And I think the point of the project is not to create the most efficient solar cell. Otherwise, you definitely would not be going for transparency because that's automatically going to decrease your efficiency. But I still need to strike that balance a little bit better. And so it was a nice start in the summer. But I think over the December break, like I mentioned, I'm going to work on the flexibility. So if I could get my flexible substrates down, then I'll be working with different materials and doing some trial and error to see what works best. Right now, I'm planning on using willow glass, but I'm also looking into some other alternative substrates. I really want to stay away from plastic and I can't use glass. So it's a bit difficult to find something else that's transparent and flexible. A crazy idea that I had about a week ago that I've been doing some research into has been looking at translucent paper and if you could do something with that for a substrate. But right now that's still very much in the baby steps. So I'm just doing research right now into substrates, and then I'm hoping over the March break I'll get to work on optimizing my absorber layers, and then over the summer, next summer, I'll work on my solar cell again and have like a nice 3-month chunk to really get down a prototype. But that's what I'm kind of seeing over the next year, and then after that, hopefully turning it into something more scalable.
That's great. I mean, some people on March break go on vacation, but you're working on your absorber layers, which I love. Something different for everybody. That's
right.
That's so great, Nyla. Thank you so much. And what advice would you give to somebody who's hearing about Ingenious Plus for the first time, has a great idea, and maybe wants to submit but is not quite sure that they're ready yet? What kind of advice, what kind of motivation would you give to someone who is in your position this time last year?
I would say that sometimes it can be scary to put yourself out there and submit your ideas, but I would say just go for it and be authentic, because if you do have a project that you really believe in, even if it's in its like infant stages, I still think that you should just put it forward because there's nothing to lose. And that's something that you can apply to a lot of different aspects of life. But sometimes putting yourself out there is scary. Showing ideas to people that you haven't shown to anyone else is scary, and that is totally okay. I did not submit my project thinking that I was going to win at all, but it was just something that I was passionate about. I knew that I really loved the problem that it was solving, and I think there's nothing to lose, but there's so much to gain. So I would say just go for it and be authentic. Let your passion show through in your videos, and I think that's a good starting step.
Well, your passion definitely shows through, and we are grateful that you put yourself out there, and we're so excited to follow you on this incredible journey. So, Nyla, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're at school. I hope you can stick around for a little bit to listen to the rest of the launch today. But in any case, congratulations again, and best of luck. We can't wait to see what comes next for you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, Nyla. Bye. Okay, so next we have second place, but never second choice, Jessica Kim, who with her partner, Spencer, won second place for their innovation, which is totally different from Nyla's. We have the Student Press Freedom Act. So we are going to ask Jessica to join us here. Hey, Jessica. Jessica's also at school. And school kids, it's very important for innovating. How are you, Jessica?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for being here with us. I know Spencer couldn't join us today, but we're so happy to have you. And I would love you to tell us a little bit more about the Student Press Freedom Act.
Yeah, for sure. So as Jill mentioned, this innovation is a little bit different than Nyla's. It's more on the policy side rather than the science side, but it is Canada's first student journalism protection legislation. So it's entitled the Student Press Freedom Act, and it's designed to protect student journalists. So in BC public schools, anyone who creates student media would be a student journalist. So people engaging in something like yearbook, newspaper, making a website, a blog, or something like a podcast even, would be protected from unjust censorship from their school administration, school district, teachers even. And so the Student Press Freedom Act kind of came about when Spencer and I were, over the past 2 years, were managing editor. I was managing editor, and he was editor-in-chief of our school newspaper, The Griffin's Nest. And we experienced a lot of attempted restrictions to our freedom of expression and freedom of the press. So administration and our school district not really liking stories we published, even though they were good ethical journalism, but more so because they were critical of things within the school system. And so out of that frustration, we were able to write the Student Press Freedom Act, and we are currently in the process of getting it endorsed by groups in education, groups in media, groups in civil liberties, but also getting it passed in the legislature. So we've been talking with politicians in our province to get that going. But one thing I would want to emphasize to anyone looking to innovate themselves, I think one thing that we found was being able to look at our own sources of frustration or difficult challenges we've encountered, and looking for a solution to them, and recognizing that innovation can be disruptive, and doesn't have to be in one particular discipline like science.
Totally. I think we often think that innovation has to be technical, engineering, mathematical, scientific, but yours is like a perfect example of social innovation, especially at a time where, media is really under siege in a lot of different ways. And, we're having a hard time trusting in our media and trusting in our media sources. So, I love the disruptor element, but I know that presented a lot of challenges for you and Spencer. You had to push back pretty hard and received a lot of criticism. So what is it like to, have this great idea, have this great innovation that you really believe in and are passionate about, and then you kind of are confronted with some stumbling blocks or maybe some non-believers? What helps you to kind of keep going and keep the dream alive?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing that really inspires me to keep going is seeing the incredible work that student journalists do across all of Canada. Even the reporting they do in their communities can be really powerful, and have a lot of really significant impacts, both on local politics or even things within their own school board, school district, classrooms even. So I think that those voices needed to really be heard, and so having the inspiration for why you do what you do despite challenges, I think could be really impactful. And then also just a certain level of confidence in yourself, and knowing that despite some feedback you may be getting, there are people out there who also believe in this, and there's a community that needs your innovation.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us. I know you two are at school. We really appreciate you taking the time out to chat with us. And again, we can't wait to see what is next for you. And we hope that you'll keep in touch and let us know how it's all going. So thank you again. And we're so happy to see you.
Yeah, Spencer and I are so grateful to Ingenious. So everyone listening, go apply. It's been a really great experience.
Another great endorsement. These spokespeople that we have are wonderful. Thanks so much, Jessica. So I am going to throw it back to Jessie, who will be introducing our big special guest keynote speaker of the day. Jessie, over to you. I know.
I'm excited. I know you're excited. We're all pretty excited here. This has been a spectacular program so far, and thank you so much, Jill, for giving us the chance to hear from such amazing innovator winners, like who are, again, both at school. It makes me feel very lazy as a 30-year-old to see people that are in that age bracket of the people winning these incredible awards. They're doing such amazing stuff, so young in their careers. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the future is in good hands with our
Canada in like 2030s, 2040s. We're just going to kill it on the world stage, I think, because of these people. So thank you so much, Jill. And as you said, we're going to dive with our main speaker today. So last year, we had the chance to feature Ingenious Plus innovators from across the country. And there was one person who got way more traction than anyone else. Not to say that everyone else wasn't incredible, but I must admit, our next speaker, Dr. Breanne Everett, who is the CEO of Orphix Medical Technologies, really did stand out with not just a fantastic personal presentation, but an opportunity to visit and tour an incredible lab and the work that they do along one of our big themes this year, which is health and well-being. So I'm going to turn it over to her in a minute to explain a little bit more about her personal story and take us on another exciting adventure throughout the lab. We look forward to your questions at the end as well, and I'll leave up orphix.com if you guys want to check out more of the work that they do online as the broadcast progresses. So without further ado, Dr. Everett, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to unmute your mic and come on in, you're good to go. Hi.
Hi, Jessie.
So nice to have you here. I mean, we were talking, I just mentioned with Jill, but like what an incredible duo of innovators that we just had on. And it's nice to have someone who's so established and took a career path as a doctor and turned it into something where you could impact so many more people in such a beautiful way. And I'm just really excited to have you on the broadcast today.
Well, thank you for having us. We're super excited to be joining you from our facility in Calgary. And those were some pretty incredible innovators. I can't even believe the work that's being done by Canadian youth. Really hard act to follow here, but we'll do our best to show you.
You'll do your best. I think you have a pretty good chance. I think we've got some exciting stuff to share with our classes today. And so if you want to dive in and take us away. We are good to go to learn more about stuff you guys got going on there.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Jesse. Well, thank you very much for having us. We're super excited to be here virtually joining your classrooms today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about ORPICS and what ORPICS does and the background behind that, as well as my own background, what led to this in the first place. And then we're going to do a live tour of the ORPICS facility. So you're going to be able to see some of the cool research and development or R&D work that we're up to every day. And we've got an amazing guest. Our lead mechanical engineer, Kogan Lee, is going to be joining us to host that part of the tour. So before we get going, I'll explain what it is that we do. So ORPICS is a company that's focused on the development of sensory insoles to prevent complications in people living with diabetes. As you probably know, the number of people living with diabetes or pre-diabetes is very high and growing. If you look at North America alone, it's about 30% of people that are affected in that way. And one of the main complications of diabetes is the loss of feeling in the feet and not knowing when you're hurting yourself. So that loss of feeling is something called peripheral neuropathy. And if you can't feel the part of your body that's seeing most of the force and trauma through the day, you're susceptible to basically wearing holes in your feet or developing wounds, which can go on to require surgical intervention like reconstructive procedures, wound care, and in many cases, unfortunately, amputation. So ORPICS as a company is focused on the development of sensory insoles, just like this one that you can see, super thin, very, very full of sensors, and we'll show you some of the inner workings of this insole shortly. But the idea is that we use this technology as a connected health device to be able to measure and monitor and provide activity-based feedback to people living with diabetes so that we can prevent those wounds from happening in the first place. So it's a super exciting company to be involved in, and one that has really evolved over the years. It was originally founded by myself and a group of co-founders while I was in my residency to become a surgeon. So I had originally planned to become a surgeon. I had completed my MD at the University of Calgary, and I had started in the clinical space seeing people who were losing their legs every single day as a result of diabetes. That complication and the loss of mobility is something that's very devastating, and is something that really inspired me and our group of co-founders and now a broader group of people at ORPICS to really get to work on finding a better solution and improving care for people living with diabetes. So that's it in a nutshell of what we do at ORPICS. Now, as you can imagine, with a sensorized insole like this, we can collect a lot of data. So we can collect pressure data, we can collect temperature data, we can collect movement and activity data. And if you think about the foot and how it interacts with the world around you, that's the part of your body that produces most of the force and generates activity for what we do. So you've got this really robust location of sensing that can drive not only connected devices in the medical side, but it also can drive other opportunities in athletic performance optimization, sports medicine, and industrial applications. The list really goes on and on. So it's this really rich set of data that we can tap, and we explore some of those areas through our partner brand Kinetics. So ORPICS and Kinetics, we do a lot of work in the sensory insole space. But it's evolved quite considerably over the years, and my background has come from very different starting point. And so given that we're talking about youth innovation today, I thought maybe I'd spend a few minutes talking about myself as a kid.
We love that. I'm excited to hear about you as a kid.
Okay.
Dive in. We've got your presentation up in a sec. When it pops up, I'll let everyone know, and we'll be good to dive in from there. I will note, I've been putting this up on the screen a few times, but orpics.com, if you want to learn more about the incredible work they've got going on there. I'll make sure every one of our registered groups has that in a link at the end of the broadcast as well. But Breanne, we've got your first slide up, so I'll leave it to you to take us away here.
Okay. So this is me in grade 1. At the time, I was very interested in a couple of different areas, but one of the areas I was quite interested in was entrepreneurship. And a lot of it was really inspired by this particular book. Now, I can't actually attest. I'd have to go back and read this book to see how good the book really was, but it did really make a big impact on me. It was a book that my aunt gave me, And it was really all these sorts of ideas to make cash as a kid. I was pretty interested in the idea of being self-sufficient. And I drew actually a bunch of inspiration from this particular book. So one of the things that I was interested in doing was starting a lemonade stand. And my sister and I were pretty aggressive in our lemonade pursuits. And now every time I see a kid on the side of the road with a lemonade stand, I just have to buy it because I definitely see myself in those kids. I'm pretty sure that this idea was actually one that was generated by the book. The book, by the way, had some not very innovative ideas like lemonade stands, but nonetheless, it was just an opportunity to start to understand business and everything involved in starting, creating, and supporting a business, even if it was something that was sort of fly by night on the weekend. From there, I started really getting into other areas of business. And I actually started my own jewelry company when I was 8. As you can see here, I was at, this was actually the Bragg Creek Christmas Fair in rural Alberta. And I became really interested in jeweling. I had been gifted actually a jewelry set as a kid that I started making my own jewelry with, and started thinking, well, what if I could make a business that would be able to generate cash flow? And I had these big dreams about creating a very large multinational jewelry business that would produce jewelry in the middle of the night when I was sleeping. It never got to that point, but it was something where I definitely did create, a cash flow for myself as a kid, and actually led to some pretty significant opportunities at the time, including making jewelry for certain television shows, including North of 60 and several made-for-TV movies. So I started to get more interested in the entrepreneurship space. I was always somebody who really liked to focus on my creative side, and this was a really good opportunity to do that. I had the benefit of having a really supportive family that just really loved to see my passions and support them, and really not pushing me to be a specific person, but enabling me to be the person that I wanted to be, and really focus on the things that I loved. Another area that I was really interested in was STEM, and this is a picture of me and the glasses here, my sister and my grandpa. And my grandpa was a meteorologist. He still is very, very bright, but was someone who really supported the science and math side of me. And I remember spending time in his basement. This is me. This is before I learned how to straighten my hair. This is where I would, he would be teaching me calculus in the early years. He was just really supportive of my learning and my education. And it's really important to find those people in your life who really want to support you in the best that you can become. So as I got older, I spent less time on the jewelry side of things and started becoming interested in science and medicine and a path towards medicine. And this is a picture that had come out of my involvement in science fair in my high school years. I had been involved in a number of projects, and that was my way. That was my way of starting to really get into the science and engineering side of things. And I had some really strong mentors, including Dr. Linda Cook here, who were very pivotal in my early days as well. So if you look at this, you can see I basically went from high school to undergrad to my MD to residency to completing an MBA, and then becoming the co-founder of this company. But I think that this looks very deceiving, because at the end of the day, the path of innovation is something that is very messy and not linear at all. And so if you put something on a slide like that looks linear, it can be very, very almost intimidating for other people who want to get in the space, who think like, I just don't know exactly what that path is. And the reality is the path is extremely circuitous. You learn every day. There's failures every day. And this is what it actually looks like. So I want to draw attention to this, because I want you to think about involvement in Ingenious Plus in a different way here, and how you will not have all the answers. If you think you have all the answers, you're wrong. But if you have an idea, you should pursue that idea, because you are an innovator. And what innovation means is, it means you try something, you fail, you learn from it, you try again, you keep learning, and eventually it leads to these micro successes that over time lead to cumulative success. But to get to that point of success, you got to try a lot of things, and you got to fall on your face a bunch of times, and you got to just understand that failure and that cycle of failure and learning is actually a moat. It's something that you're building capability around yourself. And when you think about this from a business standpoint, all of those learnings that you build along the way are things that drive your competitive advantage and why you know the space as well as you do, because you know all of the things that can go wrong. So when you're thinking about the possibility here of becoming part of Ingenious and participating, I strongly recommend that you do that, because this is the time to learn. This is the time to start to really become comfortable with being uncomfortable. If I look back at my earlier years, I felt like my success or failure in the science fair or success or failure in a specific exam was going to be so pivotal to my future career. It's not. This is your time to really explore and to learn and to take control of your own learning. As Nyla said, you have nothing to lose. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the best skill set that you can give yourself as an innovator. And do things like this that make yourself uncomfortable, stretch your limits, learn from it. Even if you don't end up placing or winning, which most people won't, you're going to gain tremendously from the experience. And you are already an innovator. That's the thing that I think you need to also to understand, that innovation isn't something people aren't. People don't become innovators. Everybody's innovative. They just need to be able to embrace that in themselves and really pursue it. And you're at the perfect time of your lives to pursue that. Everybody in this company wishes they were as innovative and creative as every single one of you on this call today. The worst thing about being an innovator when you start to become quite a bit older than you, which I am now, is that you become a little bit more inflexible in your thinking and you lose the creativity of your younger years. So while you have experiences and resources, you don't have that ultimate mind flexibility that you do as in your younger years. So flex that muscle, learn from it, build it, become comfortable with being uncomfortable, and good luck with the process. With that, we're going to start going on a tour here. We're going to shift gears. We're going to do the tour, and then we're kind of going to come back for a Q&A.
Fantastic. Well, before you head off your tour, I just want to say that was a spectacular presentation, and I'm really glad you mentioned the idea of sort of flexibility of thought. The divergent thinking test is one that I've always thought was really inspiring for kids to conceive of everyday items in like the hundreds of different things that they could actually be. So I really encourage our kids to check that out within the context of our challenge. But Breanne, take us away. We'd love to go on a little journey.
All right. Okay. So we're going to just take you on a little bit of a live tour here. You're in one of our boardrooms in the office in Calgary right now. So we're going to actually walk through this boardroom if you want to come with us. We've got one of my awesome coworkers, as I said, Kogan Lee here. So here's Kogan.
Hi, I'm Kogan. I'm the mechanical design supervisor with Orpix on the R&D team, and I'm hoping to take you a tour to the R&D area and give you a look at what we do.
All right, so let's head this way. Kogan's awesome. He's going to show you some of the amazing work that him and his team do every day. But they're going to give you a bit of a window into how complex the learning path is and how many failures you actually have to go through and achieve before you get to even an incremental success. So come on this way. We're going to head through our kitchen area and move into our R&D space. What you can't see is we got 8 inches of snow over the last couple of days. So we're in a nice warm building. Everybody's not wanting to go outside. Oh, sorry, Matt. Our space, and Kogan's going to give you a tour of our lab.
Awesome.
All right, come on in.
Thanks, Kogan.
Try to be really quiet because everybody's hard at work who don't want to disturb them.
That's right. So this is our R&D space. Our whole R&D team is situated here. A lot of our work is done here, but I'm going to take you into the back to see some of our equipment. So we'll just pan quickly Also, our full systems, they do a lot of tension and compression, and so we're doing a lot of designs on testing different fixtures, jigs, and our subassemblies, and it's a great way for us to evaluate our design. And we'll move on to the back. All right, this is our R&D space where we get to do a lot of building, breaking things. We have a whole bunch of tools, but the one thing that I'm going to focus on is what we call our run bots. And you can take a closer look here. So we have a whole fleet of run bots, and we use them to test the durability of our insoles. So this one that we're seeing right here is really cool. It has 8 feet on it. I think we call it the spider. And I can just show it to you. So we would put our insoles into the shoes, and then we would load weight on the back, and we could load up to 300 pounds where the shoe is, and it can go about 30 revolutions per minute. So that's about 1,800 cycles per hour. And so if we have 8, that's up to 16,000 cycles. So we can really go through a lot of testing in a short amount of time. And so with that testing, there is a lot of iteration. So what Breanne was talking about, there's a lot of trying, there's a lot of failing, trying again, but I feel like that is the best way to learn. That's the quickest way to learn. And so we've come a long ways with our product, and using some of these machines has really helped us to improve the design and improve the durability, because when we take a look at this insole, it is really thin, which is what we really pride ourselves on. But there's a lot of electronics that go into this. So as Breanne was mentioning, the pressure sensors, we have temperature sensors, we have an accelerometer on here, and it's all being put under the foot where there's a ton of stress. So you can see that this is really a flexible insole. So if someone's running on it, or if someone's just walking or stepping on rocks, there's a lot of stress that could happen on this insole, and the electronics are really small. They can be fragile. So it's a really challenging but rewarding task to design this insole to be as robust as possible. And using some of these tools like the run bots or our universal testing machine is a great way to evaluate our design.
I was just going to ask really quickly, the run bots, are those things that you design in-house, or are they specially modified treadmills in any way? Like, could someone take something that's on the market and modify it for this purpose, or is this like proprietary secret technology you guys have?
Yeah, so actually, that's a really good question, Jesse. We've come a long ways. I guess you should have seen our very first iteration, but I guess iteration 1 was us running on the treadmills. And then we finally had the time to develop these. So these are all developed in-house. We buy the treadmills, and then we do the design of the frame and all of that. So that is all in-house, a little proprietary. But it saves me from having to run on the treadmill.
The whole first engineering team at Orpix in the early days are all gone now. They've all got leg injuries.
Yeah.
They had to run thousands of kilometers.
Running injuries.
Yeah, that's an unexpected byproduct of innovation. I'm so fascinated. You've spent a lot of this broadcast talking about the importance of failure. And this is something that, again, it's really hard for kids to get their mind around, especially that so many great ideas and corporations, organizations, like do terribly for a long period of time and mess up and do that big circuitous route that you shared in your presentation. Can you speak to some of the failures you've had along the way as you've been developing this and sort of honing it to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I'll let Kogan talk about maybe some specific examples, but I would say that for every one way to make a sensory insole work, there are a million ways to make it fail. So it really has required a lot of creativity data, iteration, reiteration to get it to the point that it's at today. And like even with, if you think about something like the Spider, our run bot, we've had to innovate in the ways that we even do our testing, because that's not a commodity. You can't just go buy that machine. You need to be thinking about how can you innovate and iterate faster. And so to enable the team to be able to try different ideas, we need to be able to fail quickly and understand what doesn't work so that we can move on with the next idea. And that really is the goal of machines like this.
Yeah, and in terms of the technology and what's in the insole, there are a lot of things that we have failed at over the past few iterations of this. And we would have broken pressure sensors, broken temperature sensors. We have batteries in there that break, and we have a wireless charger in the heel, which is probably the worst spot to put electronics with the heel strike. And so we've had a lot of failures and complications there, but these machines have been great. And again, what Breanne mentioned is there was also a lot of time trying to hone these machines and get them to exactly how we want them. So everything takes time. It's a lot of iterations, a lot of failure. But without it, we wouldn't get to the product that we have today.
To contextualize that, our first versions of the device literally lasted about an hour. Wow. And we're now at 4 to 6 months on a single pair before you replace that pair.
Fantastic. So I was going to follow up with this point. I know we're doing a bigger Q&A later, but I wanted to highlight this while we're here with you guys. So you identify a problem, you work to fix it, you ultimately come up with something that you're happy with. How long does it take typically, if there's any sort of way to measure that, between, oh, there's a challenge, we're going to make something from it, and then you actually have a tangible product at the end of that? Is there like a 6 months? Is it 5 years? Is it indefinite? Who knows?
Well, it all depends on like the nature of the problem that we're facing, but everything does take time, and I find it takes more time than you think. And so it really depends, but I would say a couple months to 6 months to even a year to really solve a lot of these problems. And to this day, we're still trying to solve problems that are showing up, and I just feel like it's a continually iterative process.
Fantastic. Now, I don't want to steal your thunder. If there's more you want to show us in the lab, fantastic. If you want to wrap up here and take us back so we can dive in with a Q&A, entirely your call. But this has been a really fantastic opportunity to see some of the cool stuff you guys have on the go.
Sounds good. Yeah, we can certainly head back to the boardroom and take any questions that the class has. Maybe I'll pass it to you so we can teleport over too.
I'm a master of filling in while people are teleporting. In fact, teleporting is like half our fun here. Jill, I'll bring in for a second too to talk about an exciting development in our Ingenious Plus thing as we've got it officially live. Jill, come on back in. There you go.
Well, I'm so transfixed by all of this, and I just can't believe we're getting this behind the scenes, very special, privileged view of everything that Dr. Everett and her team are doing. It's so cool. And I just feel like there's got to be people like me who are chomping at the bit to say, I need to get my innovation application going for Ingenious Plus. So I wanted to let everybody know that our portal is open. You can go to ingeniousplus.ca right now and start applying. Go to the portal, check out our website. You can find all of the information that you need to apply and to get the ball rolling. And if I could, I would. If I could teleport myself back in time the way that Breanne is teleporting herself back into her boardroom, I would. So for those who can, the portal is open. Have at it.
Portal is open. Now, we will say, don't leave yet. Stay for the next 15 minutes as we wrap up this broadcast, and then you can all head to ingeniousplus.ca. But it's very exciting that we have the opportunity to have a launch event as the portal actually opens. So very, very cool. And thank you for that, Jill. It looks like Breanne and Kogan are back in the saddle again, so to speak. So I'm going to turn it back to them and welcome them to the boardroom. Everything's good. The tech all works. The teleportation's complete. No flaws. Unmute your mic. Everyone, someone has to be muted in every video broadcast. Otherwise, are you having fun at all? We don't know. So right on your, I can bring you up unmuted on the main guy if you'd like, or on the laptop, however you want to. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, you got both now. Got all the devices, but everybody's muted. So I'm just talking to myself, which is a big part of my life. There we go. Perfect. Well, welcome back, Breanne. So unmute again. You're in. You're good. There we go. So, how do you keep improving? I mean, on your website, we have this stat this on arbrix.com about 86% reduction in DFU recurrence. So, where did you start with that? How are you getting better? How are you trying to narrow that gap for the final 14%? Like, where is the innovation to come from next? If you're able to share that, and again, it's not proprietary.
Sure. Yeah, maybe I'll comment on a couple of things with that. So when you look at our earlier studies, we had completed a multi-site randomized controlled trial with an earlier version of our technology. And so when you look at that 86% stat, we were using the algorithms that we use today to provide feedback to people about optimizing pressures on their feet. But the form factor, the way that the device looked and felt was completely different. So at that time, the device that we used is basically a thin pressure sensitive insert with an external cable and bulky electronics that went onto the shoe that required physical charging. So there's no wireless charging, and the recharging had to happen frequently. That technology was also not connected digitally in the way that we connect now. So we're able to basically live track devices. We've got a Bluetooth connection coming from the insoles to the phone and beyond. So what we found is that if people wore the technology, then it worked very well. But the challenge really was how do you get people to wear it because it was cumbersome to use? So there's been so much work that's gone into understanding what is challenging, what is difficult, where is there friction involved in using the technology, and how can we make it more exciting or engaging? And so continuing to work on all of those elements so that it's something that not only doesn't repel you, but also pulls you in, because ultimately with that usage, you drive better health outcomes, more mobility, longer health span. So lots of work has gone into making this better. And there's going to continue to be work that's going to go into how do we make this more engaging? How do we make it something that people feel is indispensable to their lives and something that they just need to use, need to engage in? How do you make it more immediately rewarding? Because at the end of the day, we are dealing with a preventative health solution. And the biggest challenge we have is that you don't know what didn't happen.
Right.
If you don't develop a wound and you don't require an amputation, you don't know that you were going to require those things. So how do you make that a reward more immediate? And that's something that we're always going to be focused on, making it more exciting and engaging.
So this might be a bit of a challenging question, or certainly a nuanced one, but you talk about the change in technology and how much better you guys have gotten as a company in the last 2 years. Wearables and health tech in general is probably the biggest industry in the world, sort of up and coming right now. There's so many billions of dollars of investment. I'm curious if your technology is licensable for other things that companies would want to be doing, and if you're partnering with anyone on that, or if you can sort of link the stuff that you're doing with other products that are on the market that aren't in the technological wheelhouse that you guys create to have better outcomes, make it that sort of enticing thing for people to use. Anything on the sort of the changing world of tech, health, and how you guys are linking into that in any way would be great.
Absolutely. Jess, you've got a job. That's exactly the direction that we're going with this. So if you can imagine, living with diabetes is complex. So it affects your life in many, many different ways. And so with the next iteration of this technology, we're really interested in how do you expand this offering to be something that includes everything somebody needs for remote care of their condition, not just remote care of their foot, but remote care of the entire person. And this is something where we have a tremendous opportunity with technology. And I would challenge the innovators in the room today to really think about how do you leverage technology and innovation for good, but how do you enable technology to make people more people and to live more human lives? It isn't about dehumanizing via technology. It's about allowing us to live better, longer lives with more enriching engagements with our friends and our family. So how can you do that with technology? How do you not depersonalize those connections with tech? And there's a huge opportunity in that. And I'm really, really excited about the future of digital health, particularly with diabetes, because there's so much more good work we can do to make this streamlined, unsiloed, and easy for people.
Spectacular. Good for you. I'm curious how many people you have helped so far. Is there a number? I mean, it might be a challenging thing at this point, but do you have a number of how many people have used your products and benefited from them? And again, as you mentioned, diabetes is something that affects so many millions of people around the globe. So there's a lot of room to expand that. And do you only operate within Canada, or is it an international organization? Tell us a little bit more about your impact in the world.
Yeah, for sure. So we're very focused on commercialization of the technology and helping people initially in Canada and the US, and then we would look to expand beyond that thereafter. And we're targeting by the end of 2023 to have about 10,000 people in the program. So we're in a high growth phase right now. Just really excited to be getting the technology out and seeing real life examples of how this tech is impacting people and creating really awesome examples of preventative health.
Yeah, spectacular. Everything you do as an organization touches upon so many of the main themes that the Ingenious Plus team are looking for with this year's challenge. We've got equity and inclusion, we've got health and well-being, we've got technology and entrepreneurship. Not so much climate change quite yet, but we'll try and link that in something you guys do in the future. Breanne, I have to ask on a personal note, your first few slides talked about your lemonade stand, and you seem like the sort of person that might have actually tracked and remember how much you made with that first lemonade stand. Do you know? I'm curious.
I think that, so some days were more productive than others, but to be fair, we didn't really understand costs of goods sold or margin. And it was because my parents were literally buying all the supplies and we never paid them back. So it was 100% margin at the time. And I think the peak day we made somewhere in the order of $800 or $900. So it was
what? Sorry, whoa. You did this whole story, you set me up. Oh, we didn't understand this and that. We made $900 at a lemonade stand. I think I did a lemonade stand and I made like $8 one time. So even at the youngest possible age, you were just killing it. That's anyway.
There was a diversified product offering. We had sour soothers, we had cookies, we had lemonade, we had fresh slices that went in the lemonade, and it was like an entire production line that went into being very efficient with this.
Breanne, all I'll say is that you are so good at this. I would buy sand from you in a desert. It's not really surprising to anyone involved in this broadcast that you ended up with a company with all these amazing people around you doing such good work. That's a great story. We are nearing the end of the broadcast. Time flies when you're having fun talking about all these great innovations. And so you did such a beautiful job linking your personal story to the work that you're doing now. For our innovators who, and again, the portal's open, they can start putting in applications right now. Is there sort of like an ultimate piece of advice you want to leave our folks with across Canada on how they can get involved and any pitfalls to avoid?
So what I would say is if you're even considering it, do it. Like, you will gain a lot from the opportunity. This is an amazing program. Super excited to see that it's continuing to run and grow. And this is your opportunity to really guide your own education and learning and to take control of it and just get more comfortable with being uncomfortable.
All right. I honestly, every time we talk about failure and the idea of facing these challenges, it's so important. In the Ingenious Plus and Rideau Hall Foundation context, generally at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, it's quite amazing that we can bring on people who are at the top of their field, who failed so miserably for so long to get there. And now they get the chance to work with amazing people, do amazing things, create incredible products. And I think that's such an important message for our students, is that you can take a long time to get somewhere. You can do a circuitous route to get there. And there's nothing to be gained by giving up. Nyla talked about that. Jessica talked about that, and sort of permeates your entire presentation. So Breanne, thank you so much for all of this. Again, we've got our 5 main themes this year for our Ingenious Plus awards. I really encourage our classes to submit today or start thinking about things you can submit over the next month if you can, and check out ingeniusplus.ca for more on that. You folks are at Orpix, orpix.com. We've got so much more information on the amazing work that you do, and I really can't encourage our audience to check that out enough. And what I'm going to do now is bring back in Jill to say a big thank you and farewell from the Rideau Hall Foundation side. And for you guys and the whole Orpix team, it's been such a huge pleasure. Jill.
For having us.
Oh, there we go. Hey, Jill.
Hi. No, we couldn't be more pleased. Having as part of the Rideau Hall Foundation family has been such an incredible honor for us. And I mean, I'm sure she regrets the day that we first contacted her, because ever since we've just been wanted her to be a part of as much as possible. And Breanne, your generosity is boundless, just as is your ability to innovate. So we thank you for that. And I hope you enjoyed hearing from our young innovators today and maybe saw a little bit of yourself in their passion and their resolve. So we just couldn't thank you enough for being with us. And for everybody who joined us today, what an incredible launch. Ingenious Plus year 2, it gets better and better. Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Breanne. We'll wrap up the broadcast there, folks. I'm going to say a bye to you guys. And just a note again, head to our ingeniousplus.ca site if you want to learn more. Submit today. We'd love to have you join in that way. For now, have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye for now, everyone. Thanks so much.